My name is Ifeoluwa Alabi. I work with the Global Emerging Pathogens Treatment Consortium, GET. GET was established in 2014 as a direct response to the Ebola virus disease outbreak between 2014 and 2016 in West Africa. Get now firmly operates in the African biosecurity space, and they will provide high level advocacy, research, and operational and necessary expertise to communities and countries to combat disease outbreaks and biosecurity threats. So today is the World Wildlife Day 2022, and we are currently with the HOD, the head of the Department Wildlife and Ecotourism Management, Professor Abosede Onomena. She'll be taking us through the theme for today. She'll be expatiating on the theme for today, and the theme is recovering key species for ecosystem restoration. So, Ma, welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ma. We're going to be having so much discussion around today's theme, but I would like to give you a background to today's celebration. So, in the 20th of December 2013, the 68th section, section of the General United Nations General Assembly, March 3rd was adopted, which is today, to raise awareness and also to recognize the worldwide animals and plants. And the celebration basically is to raise awareness on the conservation status of the animals and plants that are currently endangered, and also to drive discussion towards imagining and also implementing strategies to conserve them. And that's what we're going to discuss it today. Ma, welcome again.
Thank you.
All right. Ma, can we meet you, and then I also want to know your work in the area of the wildlife management.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Professor Abosede Omonona, the current head of Department of Wildlife and Ecotourism Management, University of Ibadan. I've been working here for well over 20 years. I started working here sometimes in September the year 1998. And over time, I've done a lot of research work and also taught students on wildlife and environmental health. I have my background in veterinary medicine from the Veterinary College, University of Ibadan. So I've carried out a lot of series of research work on wildlife health and environmental health. And to date, I have well over 90 publications in that area.
Thank you so much, Ma. So the theme of today, which is recovering key species for ecosystem restoration. So I actually did my research, and according to the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species, IUCN is the International Union for Conservation of Nature. They published that over 3,000 species has been endangered, and then over 8,000, rather, 8,400 species have been endangered. And there is also about over 30,000 species that are currently endangered. And then with all these estimates, there's a projection that over a million species have actually gone into extinction. So, Ma, I want you to expatiate on this theme. With these facts and figures that we have received, that means a lot of this is happening in the conservation area. So, I want you to talk about the theme for today, Ma.
Okay, thank you. The theme for this year is recovering key species for ecosystem restoration. Over time, well, right from when man started exploiting nature, we have lost millions, as you have said, of wild animals, wildlife,
Yes.
because when you say wildlife encompasses both flora and fauna, that's living organisms that are not under the control of man. So it's not only animals that are wildlife. Living organisms that are not directly under the control of man are referred to as wildlife. And of course, this includes both flora and fauna. Let's take for instance now in our own country. Okay, we have forests. We have forests that are under the control of the government, and we have those that are not directly under the control of government, even though it is well known, it is an established fact that everything belongs to the government. Man needs the environment to survive. We feed on plants and animals. And because of this, we exploit this wild flora and fauna for various reasons, not only for feeding, not only for food. We use them for production in our industries. We use them, for so many things. We depend on them for various, they play so many roles. Okay, they have ecosystem services that they render. The thrust of conservation is that man should use these resources sustainably. We're not saying that we should not use them at all. But in exploiting this wild flora and fauna, we realize that human beings have not really done it, in a responsible manner. People go into the wild, to fell trees. They go into the wild, to hunt wild animals, and even some of the other non-timber products that we have that in the forest. People exploit them, um, unsustainably, I would say. And these, of course, are responsible for the loss of so many species that we have witnessed. We are already confronted with ecosystem crisis, because of the loss of all these species of flora and fauna. So the theme, the focus of this year is to look for means, to restore this species back. And of course, this can only be achieved when, of course, we first stop. We have to prevent the exploitation, or let me say, first of all, you have to halt all those things that are responsible for the loss of this species. We have to halt. We have to put a stop before you start to talk about the restoration. We have to prevent, put a stop to, and it's then we can now start to talk about restoring them back.
Thank you so much, Ma. Ma, I would like you to mention few of the species that are currently endangered.
Okay, we have quite a number of non-human primates that are already endangered. We have the chimpanzees, the gorillas. We have other mammals like elephants. Different. We have the African forest elephant is endangered. The Asian elephant is endangered. Of course, in recent times, we have been hearing about pangolin. Pangolins are endangered. Black-footed ferret is endangered. The black buck is endangered. The whooping crane is endangered. And so many species of sea turtles are endangered. So we have quite a number of all this wild fauna that are endangered, and also flora.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma. Yeah, we need to talk about the practices that have led to this endanger. So I want you to shed more light on the practices that have been practiced before, because the current situation that we're discussing now is not just happening. It has happened, activities have been done before, and then also we also need to prevent the future damage. So I want you to talk about the practices that human beings, because human beings play an active role in this situation. So I want you to tell us about the practices that have been done, and the ones that are currently active, that have led to the endangering of this species.
Okay, thank you. These species have their own habitats. They, in a layman's language, let me say, the house where they live. They are found in the forest, in the jungle. And human beings, because of our needs, we exploit the wild, the forest, for so many things, like I said earlier on. And in exploiting this wild, we end up destroying the habitat of these wild animals. There are a lot of falling of trees, cutting of trees for different purposes. And when you cut trees, you are gradually destroying the habitat of these animals, because that is their own house. That is where they live. And this habitat provides shelter and other needs for them. Shelter and food. Shelter and even their mates are also found in this habitat. Of course, when you talk about the basic needs of like human beings have their basic needs, these animals also have their basic needs. Of course, for the basic needs of man and that of animal also, shelter, one, food, mates. Of course, mates will provide companionship and also for procreation. So when you destroy the habitat, when they don't have a house, as you destroy the habitat, you're also eliminating or exterminating these animals. Okay? Where we talk about habitat destruction, total destruction, you talk about habitat fragmentation. Fragmentation, when people, because of development, people erect structures and they encroach into all this forest, clear forest to erect new structures. So you're also destroying their, and that's why you may have a pocket of forest there, you have an industry in between, so you have habitat fragmentation, okay? And also killing, hunting, indiscriminate hunting of these wild species. When I say indiscriminate, under the principles of wildlife conservation, if you want to hunt, you cannot just go into the wild and say you want to hunt. We have in developed countries where laws are well enforced. You cannot just go into the wild without a license. Okay? How many licensed hunters do we have around here in this country? People just go into the forest, they just go and kill without any license. And when you also go for hunting, you cannot kill the young animals. You cannot kill a pregnant animal, because these are the ones that will restore or replenish, the stock in the forest. But people that do not have knowledge of all those things, they kill is whatever they see they kill. They do not care whether the animal is pregnant or whether the animal is at the peak of production. They just kill indiscriminately. Okay, and in developed countries, there's what we call open season. You don't just hunt all year round. There's a period that you're allowed to hunt, and with the knowledge of the government, because the government will supervise the hunting. When you hunt, you bring your whatever you hunt to the government, and they will look at it before you take it out of that area. But in this country, we don't have such things in place. So I've mentioned the issue of habitat destruction, habitat fragmentation, indiscriminate hunting of wildlife, indiscriminate hunting, and also poaching of even protected areas. Like we have some areas that are under direct management of the government, but people still go there, without, given without they don't care about what comes out of it. Do we even have the people that are supposed to watch over this forest, the people that are working for the government? Their lives also are not safe. Their lives are, because most of our forests in this country now have been taken over by all these Boko Haram, all these terrorists, these gunmen, the kidnappers and all that. They use our forest now as their abode, So, and also these people are living there also, these illegal occupants of the forest, they also hunt these animals indiscriminately. So these are the things, some of the things are responsible for the loss of our wild species.
Wow, that's a whole lot. Yes, thank you so much for highlighting the problem and the practices. Now, I want us to come to the area of solution. What are the strategies that we can adopt? What are the solutions and then when we're talking about solution, I want us to share responsibility, the policymakers and we the people, because when there are no animals again, when there are no plants again, then there will not be human. And then also this brings us to the area of the new concept of the One Health that talks about the interconnection of human health, animal health, plant health, and their shared environment. So we need to know, how can we stop this practice? How can we restore the ecosystem? How can we recover the key species? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we start to talk about the solutions, I think we need to mention some of the benefits that we derive from the ecosystem. Okay, we have the provisioning services of the ecosystem. Okay, the food we eat, the fruits from the plants, even some of the food we also eat, they are from the ecosystem. That is provisional services. We have the supporting services of the ecosystem. Okay, we have the cultural services. Under the cultural services, we talk about the aesthetics. If you go around, if you go around, you look around you where the forests are still intact, you appreciate nature, you hear birds of calls of birds. And in area where you have forest, the area is always cool, because the plants are there. What we breathe in, the oxygen we breathe in is what they produce. They produce oxygen, we breathe in oxygen, and that which we release as a waste, the carbon dioxide, that's what they use to synthesize their food. So we talk about the decomposition, carbon storage. This forest absorb all the carbon from the exhaust of vehicles, from produced from factories, from industries that are generating all this waste. This forest acts as sink for all this carbon. And of course, we know that all these things, if they are left free in the atmosphere, they are injurious to human health. We talk about water purification, erosion and flood control. All this, when you have the trees in place, then they assist in controlling flood and erosion. So these are some of the things we benefit. And also, I talk about the issue of aesthetics. When you move around in a forest area or area that has not been overexploited, there is a kind of calmness that you feel, okay? And it helps your mental health. It helps your even spiritually. Some people go to such places to meditate. It helps you, to calm down. So all these things, they have roles. All these resources in the ecosystem, they have roles they play. So when we now overexploit, when we destroy all those things, we are gradually also tampering with our own health. We are gradually also destroying our own environment, because we are in the same environment anyway. We are all in the same environment, and we are interdependent, relation. We have this interdependent relationship. So these are the roles. So now to talk about restoration, ecosystem restoration. The first thing in ecosystem restoration is cessation or halting of all the causes of these damages. You have to stop. You first of all cease the causes of the damages. That's you put a stop to it. When you now put a stop to it, you talk about reviving or healing. You first of all stop. You put a stop to the damages. Then you talk about healing. So restoration involves putting a stop to the causes of the damages. Then you talk about healing of the ecosystem. And healing the ecosystem, how to heal the ecosystem is you think of ways to bring back, first of all, the habitats of these wild species. How do we bring back the water bodies? If you go to Lagos now, all this highbrow area that are sprouting up, that are coming up, they are taking, reclaiming water that serve as habitats for aquatic species. And that is why they're having problem with flood in Lagos, because water will always find its own level. So we talk about, restoration of all this habitat, bring back the water body, bring back the terrestrial, the land. That is part of healing. We will bring back the habitat. Then when you bring out the habitat, it runs hand in hand, creating awareness, educating the people about the ecosystem roles or the services that provide benefits for us. Because if you are really aware of the benefits that all those things serve, then we'll be cautious about the things we do or the way we exploit the environment. So habitat, bring back the habitat. Now, we are not saying that people should not exploit the habitat, but we have to do it sustainably. We talk about sustainable utilization of all these resources. You use in a way that the future generations will still meet them intact and in a healthy form. So, principles of restoration. We're talking about restoration. Talk about preservation. Preservation, okay. Then you talk about rehabilitation. The ones that have been tampered with, that have been destroyed, you need to repair them. You repair them. Then you talk about I've talked about the recovering, of all the lost species. How to recover is, first of all, you have to bring back their house, their habitat. Because without the habitat, you cannot have the species. Because it's in the habitat that they have shelter, they have food, and their mates, the companions, are there. And when this environment, the habitat has been brought back, there's conducive environment, then you can now have this species coming back.
All right, thank you so much, Ma. I think there is something more that I would like you to shed light on the role of the policymakers. Now that the responsibility of people have been highlighted, which includes that if at all you're going to exploit the ecosystem, do it in a sustainable manner. So, what about the policymakers? Because during our conversation, you mentioned something that actually captivated me. We talked about in developed countries, you can't just go into the forest even after you've hunted. There are what we call number one, there are licenses and also evaluation of what you've wanted. So what can our policymakers also do to support this cause?
What our policymakers can do to support this cause is, well, we have enough policies in place, but we need review. We need to review. In developed countries, like I said, that you cannot just go, even in areas that are not protected, because it's not all the forests are protected. You have pockets of forest here and there that are not really directly under the protection of the government, but they are well aware. They are aware of the fact that you cannot just, because all these wild species also have their rights.
Yes.
They are well aware that you cannot just come out of your house one day and just kill a particular species. You'll be held responsible. You'll be held responsible. You'll be fined, or you'll be charged to court. But most of our laws are in place. We have laws guarding that are supposed to be protecting this wild species, but we have problem with enforcement. You can imagine where maybe there is a law that had been enacted about 50 years ago, that is still talking about, if you do this, you will pay 50 naira. So when you weigh the options, if I kill a large game and I'm going to pay 50 naira, how much is 50 naira? So the person will not care, will go ahead in a situation where people are not well enlightened. But when you place when we have review and you put appropriate fines, on these things, on all this, people will be careful, in tramping or violating all these laws are in place.
All right, thank you so much. It's been an amazing conversation with you, Ma, and we deeply appreciate you. So let's go to your final message. We're celebrating. I would like you to give the public your final message, concerning today's.
Well, my final message, I'm not just talking as an environmentalist or a wildlife management scientist. I'm talking as a human being like you, because I'm well aware and I know from the little discussion we had today, at least you would have known some of the benefits that would derive from the ecosystem. I'm more or less pleading with us, because our survival depends on the survival of this species. I'm pleading, let us embrace nature and let's live and let all these other species live. If you want to live, a flourishing life, you need all the species around us. So live and let all the species also live. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Abosede. It's such a great time with you. And then we've come to the end of today's conversation. And then we hope that with all that have been said, we will definitely act on it. Today is the World Wildlife Day, and then we're celebrating. And the theme is recovering key species for ecosystem restoration. Live and let the plants and the animal live. Thank you.